We're all muted over here. Yeah. Welcome to the Marquee. We are the Cinefanatics. My name's Robert Adams.
My name's Chris Adams.
And yeah, it's time for the Marquee. Time to rank some rom-coms. We just had Valentine's Day a couple of days ago, and now it's time to basically put our hearts where our live streams at and rank these rom-coms.
You know, you're there. You're almost there.
It's good enough. It works good for this channel. Awkwardness would be how this channel thrives. So we're just going to press on with all that. Real quick, those of y'all who know how YouTube stuff works, if y'all have any questions, comments, issues, streamlabs.com/cinefanatics. Again, here in a minute, I will put up like what all movies that we're going to be ranking. If you would like to jot those down and submit your rankings at the end of this, submit those through Streamlabs. I will read those off at the end of this episode. We got 18 movies we got a tier rank on here, so we're going to be plowing through these pretty soon. Also, Patreon, if you feel like that we are worthy of your endorsement and support and you have the monetary means to do so, please hop on the tier that is good for you. I believe this next Wednesday we'll be doing the Patreon Trivia Hangout, which is going to be after Tagline, so I believe you have to be at the Maverick tier for that, so hop on there if you want to join us for that. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's see. I see we have Garth and Jeremy here at the beginning. So, yeah, thank y'all for being here as we go live. Anyone else here? Sound off in the chat. Let us know. Again, since there's only two of us on this stream, we had guests lined up. Unfortunately, they had an emergency situation. They weren't going to be able to make it tonight. So it's just the two of us, our two bright, shiny, single, lonely faces. And because of that, that means we have activated the chat poll. Chris will be putting up a poll throughout this to get your ideas and your votes on where these movies should go. So you have a say on this as well. That being said, let's look at what movies we have playing for tonight. Tonight, like I said, we are doing 18 movies. We are starting with Roxanne, going all the way to Always Be My Maybe. If y'all want to jot these down real quick, get a screenshot, anything to help remind you of what movies that we will be tackling tonight. That way you can, again, like I said, put together your own ranking, your own position of where these movies should go. So there's this helpful tool for you. Chris, we had a podcast talking about rom-coms, and as we said on that podcast, you're a little more familiar with rom-coms than I am.
I love love, and I love to love love.
So if everyone's got these movies jotted down real quick or picture screenshot, I'm going to go ahead and put us back on the screen. Yeah, you're a bigger fan of rom-coms than I am typically. Although I'm a bigger fan of horror, that's why we have a lot more horror marquee episodes than we do rom-coms. So,
also, rom-coms is like not. There are a lot of movies under the rom-com genre, but it's not so much that we can just tackle this all the time.
Yeah, these kind of like have their own like thing. While I would say horror definitely has a more plethora of like subgenres within horror, rom-com really is its own subgenre. It's not a major genre like horror, action, comedy. It is a subgenre of comedy or drama. So
I would also argue that since we only have 18 here tonight, and there is a plethora of rom-com movies out there, you can bet your sweet bippy we're going to be doing a round 2 of rom-com at some point in the future.
You mean there's more than 18 rom-coms in existence?
As it turns out, yeah. There's a lot more, and a whole nother list of 18 completely different that we could do.
Yeah.
Rom-coms round 2. Coming at some point.
Probably February of next year.
Probably February.
Although, here's the other thing with that too. February is the month of love generally because of Valentine's Day. It's also Black History Month. So we are probably also going to need to leave ourselves open and available for tier ranking Black movies at some point. I would like to dive into that. I feel like I'm not that familiar with that genre either. So, yeah. Anyways, before we get going, let's take a look at the rules. Johnny, is Johnny available? Let's have Johnny read off the rules. Here's the rules. Johnny, take it away.
Well, it's thing tonight is it's a lot simpler for you guys, you dummies. It's 3 films per tier. I'm so sorry. I got a little bit of a cold. I don't know where my voice is at tonight. I just like honestly, I don't really want to insult y'all. And y'all have employed me for so long, and I got to be honest. I don't know where Johnny's at. I'm doing the voice for him tonight. I have no idea where he's going.
I don't think Johnny's been feeling well.
I was trying. I was really trying, and I don't know where he went. He's got the night off, you know. Okay. We care about Johnny even if he doesn't care about us, right?
I mean, I guess sort of, possibly.
Yeah.
But poor Johnny. But I will tell you who we do care about, because he does a phenomenal job each and every time we do the Marquee, and that would be Carl. Carl, take it away. Hey,
I'm still going.
Carl did a good job tonight. Nice and smooth. That was like by the book there.
Carl is never sick. He always does a great job. He's so reliable.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny, on the other hand, you know, I'm not. We give him the night off. He's okay.
Jeremy Miller. Johnny is on a date.
If y'all would like to send in your condolences for Johnny or wish him well, you can do it at Streamlabs.com.
We will pull all that together, and we'll give him like a really good dinner or something. We'll treat him out to a nice.
We'll make sure we give all those donations straight to Johnny.
That's the proper thing to do. Those of y'all who don't know how this works, this is a tier ranking show. This is our tier ranking board. We've got tiers, as you can see over here, starting at S, going down to F. S being superb, substantial, super, whatever you want to call it. F standing for fuck this movie. So
that's not what F stands for.
Well, it can.
S is sensational. F is failure.
We're going to go through all 18 of these movies one at a time. The two of us are going to give our thoughts. We're going to talk about where we would like to put it, how we connect with this movie. And then we're going to take an average of the two of our thoughts plus whatever the poll comes up with, the chat. And we're going to put these movies in the proper tier that we believe they should go. At the end of this, we will have one last look over the board, see if there's anything we need to do to change the position of them. Maybe we were okay with one movie being in A, but now that we see where all the other movies have landed, maybe it feels like it needs to be more of a B in comparison. So we'll do that at the very end of this. Anyways, I think that's it. Was there any questions? Chris, do you have any questions as to how this works?
I hope not. Because
Robert, do you have any questions?
Yeah, a while now. So,
do we have any questions? Let's go ahead and kick things off with 1987's classic Roxanne.
I don't think that song is related to this movie whatsoever.
It's not, but I mean, you can't say the word Roxanne without singing at least the name. I don't even think the song's in the movie. So,
Nope.
So Chris, what do you think of Roxanne?
Roxanne, for me, this is again one of those classic Steve Martin roles. I know that he's had quite a few over the years, but this is one of those that I believe is it's one of those that I feel specifically is career defining for him, in that, and that might be biased because this is one of those, again, it's one of those movies that the parents would always throw on. Dad would love this movie, would watch it many, many times. But as far as a rom-com goes, you know, it's great. It's great with the romance side of things. It's the tale of it's essentially the tale of Cyrano de Bergerac, an old story. And what this movie adds and why I actually really enjoy it so much is that it's that moment of Steve Martin comedy where he gets to jump in and do the whole list of insults about himself. He's in the bar or what have you, and the guy's like, comes up with this flimsy bad insult about his nose, and he's like,
big nose. He calls him big
nose. He's like, that's the best you got? All right. And then he comes up with like 20 20 better insults for himself.
Yeah, he tells the guy to throw a dart at the board, and whatever number it lands on, he'll do that many insults of himself. So the guy throws it at 20, and he's like, let's do best 2 out of 3. He throws it at 20 again, and then says that he was like the regional all tri-state whatever dart champion. So he's like, fine. And he just randomly just goes through 20 different insults. And he'll do stuff like poetic, and then he'll say an insult that's poetic. Aromatic, he'll say an insult that's aromatic. And they're all
science fiction.
Yeah, they're all like gold.
Yeah, it's for me, this is a classic Steve Martin comedy. I really enjoy it. I really, really do. It is actually, as far as this list goes. So here, I'll break this down before we even really get started here. F tier is actually the only tier on this list that features any movies that I really am not a fan of. D through S, I like all those movies.
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of the same. Like the ones I want to put in F are not necessarily going to be movies I hate, but something's got to go in F. So,
and that's true. Teaser. There is something I'm putting in F that I think people will be very upset about.
Oh, I'm going to do it quite a bit.
So that being said, Roxanne, while I do enjoy it for this list, it does end up in the C tier for me. Again, this is the common theme with these tier lists. There are just a bunch of other movies on this list that I like more than Roxanne, even if I really like Roxanne.
Oh, okay. So you said C. Kind of the same thing with me. I like this movie, again, because our parents liked it. It's fun. I think the romance is cute. The romantic part of it is a cute portion of this movie. And this is going to be something that I feel like we're going to see a lot through a lot of these movies. Some of these movies, it leans more heavily on comedy than it does romance, or it may lean more heavily on romance than the comedy. So we're going to see that a bunch of times. For me personally, I enjoy the comedy of this movie more than the romance.
Yeah.
So yeah, like the bar scene that we were talking about, there's a scene at the beginning where he's fighting off bullies with a tennis racket. That scene is also classic and a lot of fun. Really, for the most part, it's really hard to go wrong with any Steve Martin movie from the 80s. I know, like one of our favorites is easily The Jerk, which I think is like 1979. I think it's like just barely before the 80s.
It's like right there. It's right there.
Yeah. But yeah, this movie's just so much fun. And again, it's more of the comedy side of it rather than the romance that I like. But yeah, I have this as a B.
So B tier. Awesome. Mm-hmm. So I'm C, you're B, audience is also B.
Audience is going B?
Yep.
Cool. So
chat poll is B.
So we're going to probably be looking at B, probably either
Lower
middle B or NB right now.
NB?
Middle B.
Don't have some NB on where this ends up. That was
wow.
dumb. I'm so sorry.
All right. Next one we're going to move on to is When Harry Met Sally. I don't really want to kick this off.
Oh, whoopsies. I'm in the middle of writing a chat poll, so go for it.
Yeah. Thanks, Maxwell. Two straight white guys. Neither did we, but
to be fair, this one was going to feature at least one female. There's a hint as to who we were going to have on as a guest, but you know, sometimes things happen where it just ends up the two straight white guys.
Yeah. So Garth is here I'm here to hear Chris say When Harry Met F tier. I don't know if that's necessarily what Chris is going to say. So my personal connection, it took me probably about 6 or 7 tries to watch this movie.
Wow, really?
The time jumps. This movie has like a lot of times where they meet up and then they interact for a little while and then it jumps ahead years. They meet up again, spend a little time, jump ahead years. And while the conversations that they have are really interesting, because a lot of it is just basically, can people who used to be lovers be friends, or can people who are friends be lovers? That kind of a conversation. While that is interesting, it plays so slow for me, specifically for me, because of my ability to pay attention and my ability to focus on something like that. So when you have a lot of time jumping like this movie does, it kind of loses me. So that's why it took so long for me to watch it. I did finally sit down and make it all the way through, and it's a very cute movie. I actually did enjoy it in the end. But compared to everything else on this list, because of the issues that I had watching it to begin with, it's not ranking high for me. In fact, this will be the first one I'm going to put in the F tier for me. Not saying it's a bad movie.
That's insane.
Not saying it's a bad movie, but it's just how I interacted with it while watching it. And
you are insane.
I know.
Yeah, so this is a recent first time watch for me and loved it. Everything that you didn't like about the movie, I loved about the movie. This movie walked so the Before trilogy could run. That's kind of my opinion on this. I love that they did the whole idea of When Harry Met Sally. It is those little windows leading up to the point where they just actually finally become friends and then become lovers. You know, those little windows that give you the insight into how the relationship builds over the year is just, I thought from a script perspective, it was fantastic. I thought it was such a unique way of doing it that I don't know. I really loved it. I thought it's just great. On top of that, Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal in this movie, flawless chemistry. Yeah. That's honestly, that part is one of my favorite things about it. Jeremy brings up Carrie Fisher down there as a standout. Yeah, Carrie Fisher in this. She's fantastic as her friend. I enjoyed it. It's not, so here's the thing, it's not S tier for me. Again, this is one of those where everything D on up I love. To some varying degree, but everything D on up I love. This movie for me, where do I have it? I had it. Where did I have it? Oh, there it is. For me, it's in my B tier.
B.
Okay. I have this in B tier. So again, it's 3 movies per tier. So, you know, take that what you will. There are many, many movies below it still.
And so where do we have the chat at with this so far?
Chat is saying S tier. Oh, there's like an overwhelming amount going to S tier here.
So again, I want to make sure we reiterate, just because I'm saying F doesn't mean I'm saying the movie's bad.
Yes, it is.
I'm just saying that I like a lot of other movies on here more than this one.
It's exactly what you're saying, you heartless.
How could you no, it can't be heartless, because I'm going to put some movies on talking about rom-coms in S.
I'm joking. Just you're fine.
Well, the problem with you joking is people may be watching and taking it seriously without thinking it's a joke. So
get used to it. You're on YouTube, friend.
That's why I'm saying this how I'm saying it. Just keep in mind.
You're okay. Just move on. Stop it.
So we've got, the chat says S. You said B.
B. Yep.
And I said F. So yeah, that's going to put it at B. So do we want to put it above or below Roxanne?
I would have it above.
Above
Roxanne. Again, Roxanne for me was in the C tier, so
okay.
And chat's clearly saying above Roxanne because they're saying S. So
yeah. So I mean, we've got, like Garth said, that was C tier for him. I know. I'm sorry, Maxwell. I'm not trying to offend you. I'm just trying to say what I think.
He's already gone. He didn't hear that.
Where's the lady to put this in S tier? That's great. Anyways, moving on. God, I don't want to don't want to do this one next. Can we skip this and come back to another one?
Nope.
Next one we're gonna go to is Sleepless in Seattle.
Because at the top of this program right here tonight, people are going to hate you, but they're going to feel all right with me.
And this is gonna change.
Well, actually, this one might be pretty even across the board here. They're gonna hate me later. For right now, though, this particular film for me, I'm gonna say right off the top, I throw it in the D tier. Again, like I said, D on up, I really enjoy. This is another one of those situations where, like with When Harry Met Sally, for me, it's a unique way. Weird how Meg Ryan's in all of these. It's a unique way of doing a romance that you don't do the stereotypical shtick of, oh, will they, won't they? Throughout the whole movie, they're getting to know each other. They hate each other at first, but then they love each other. Whatever. You don't have all of that in this. They don't know each other throughout this entire movie until literally the end.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why for this one, I still really kind of enjoyed it, because it broke the mold as to every other rom-com that I've seen. Just like with When Harry Met Sally. So that being said, again, common phrase. We're going to get this printed on a t-shirt, y'all. There are other movies on this list that I still rank higher because I just like them more personally. Sleepless in Seattle, it's a good movie. I really enjoyed it. I will watch it again at some point. However, it is in the D tier for me.
You have it at D?
Yeah.
Okay. Almost for everything that you said, I agree with. This one was also slow for me. This one though had the benefit of I didn't try to watch it. I think I tried watching it once and then I watched it again, and that second time I made it all the way through. But it is also, I feel like it's really slow as well, and I agree. Like the main thing that I do like out of rom-coms, the will they, won't they, doesn't happen until like the last 2 minutes of this movie.
Yeah.
So like that kind of puts it low for me as well. At least I feel a little bit better this time saying that I'm also wanting to put this one in F. So you said D, I said F.
You're putting the weirdest choices in the world.
I'm putting the ones that I'm putting the ones that I know that, like, and I'm not doing this on purpose. It just happens to be how it is. I'm putting the ones that are seemingly the most classic rom-com movies that we have on this list tonight, all in F. I think the third one I want to put in F. I think most people will be okay with that one going to F, but
yeah. All right, so we're gonna do another audience poll real quick because it looks like the majority is going for C through F.
Hello, Peggy. Welcome. Yeah. When Harry Met Sally in B tier. Yes.
So yeah, to be fair, I did want it in B tier. You wanted it much lower. The audience said S tier, so the chat is the savior of this one, of When Harry Met Sally. However, given the rest of the list, I do have others that I prefer more than When Harry Met Sally.
Who was it that said earlier? I know I highlight. Oh, Nerd. Nerd said this earlier. This is the worst of the Hanks and Ryan trilogy. I would actually agree. I did enjoy Joe versus the Volcano, and we will talk about You've Got Mail in a little while. So
yeah, so Joe versus Volcano is the one I haven't seen, so I can't state whether or not this is the worst or best.
Joe versus Volcano is just it's a little loopy. It's a little weird. It's not a normal rom-com, but it is a lot of fun. No, I don't hate Meg Ryan. I just don't like these two movies. And I agree here. Consider utilizing new ranking nomenclature. That's the thing too. And I am keeping in mind like a future, like, I guess, hint as to what is to come with this. I am looking at kind of readjusting how the marquees work, especially how this board here looks. And that might be something that I keep in mind with that, is like, not necessarily are we F-tiering movies that we hate.
Yeah. We've got new technology in the future, coming in the future, that will help us also make things prettier and make things a little bit gentler in ways.
So, anyway, so I said F, you said D. Where's the chat at?
Chat looks like they are going C tier.
C. So we got C, D, and F. So it's going to go in D.
C, D, and F.
See, that's the other fun thing about these is like when doing these, I have in my head like, oh my God, I'm going to say live in front of the public that I want to put When Harry Met Sally in F tier. And I'm like, I could just feel like the seething hate from everyone who's watching. And I was thinking the same thing with Sleepless in Seattle, but no, it seems like a lot of y'all seem to agree that Sleepless Seattle really isn't as good as you would think, even though it is a classic rom-com that I believe most people would refer to as classic.
It is one of, I would say, probably 2 movies on this list that I actually don't 100% feel comfortable classifying as a rom-com. The other movie I do a little bit more, but this was one of those that I actually don't feel 100% the calm on. There was a little bit of comedy in it, but I don't feel like Sleepless in Seattle was 100% calm, you know?
I didn't feel the calm on this one. So yeah, okay. Thank you.
Would you just listen to what I'm saying and not the words I'm using?
All right, so we'll move on to the next one. Clueless. And I understand this may not necessarily. I'll start off with this, and I will agree with what people could potentially say about this. I don't necessarily feel like this is 100% a true by the book rom-com. This movie came out in 95. Keeping in mind how old I was in 1995. I don't know my exact age at that moment. I'm not doing math right now, but I will tell you that I was in a position that I absolutely loved Alicia Silverstone. So
you're in middle school.
Yeah, this was a movie that was feeding more into my age at that time, and I was more in looking at this as it was like just a teen comedy, almost like a coming of age type of movie. Although coming of age movies are usually more of like a slice of life and not really a full-on plot. This one did have a full plot to it. So I really like this movie. It's one of my favorites. I watch it. I will usually watch it at least once a year, if not like on someone doing a watch along. I'll watch it on my own. Movie plays in the background. I'm singing all the songs in my head. I'm singing the one at the beginning that she's like, so you're probably wondering, is this a Noxzema commercial or something? Yeah, I love this movie. Absolutely. And Paul Rudd has not aged a day since being in this movie as well. I love this movie so much. This is going to be my first S.
My brain heard F again. I was like, I'm so confused by everything that just happened. This one's a little bit interesting for me. I have not watched this movie in probably well over a decade and a half. This is one of those that this is like the last movie that was on this list that I meant to rewatch again right before doing this tier ranking. So there's only so far that you could probably trust my opinion on this one. What I do remember and what I do enjoy about this was, I do remember the strong characterizations that everybody held. The basic plots of what I do remember was enjoyable, but the fact of the matter is there's a lot of movies on this list that I haven't seen in a long time either, and they stand out a little bit more to me than Clueless does, which tells me that Clueless isn't one of my higher ranking movies. It obviously means a lot more to you, but it doesn't mean quite as much to me. And I think, again, that's probably just going into age range. Where was I at in the 90s when this movie came out? 95, I was like 6 years old. I was not into Clueless. And that will probably also explain one of the other movies on this list as well. We'll get there when we get there. So for me, Clueless, while I do remember enjoying aspects of it, it's not so much something that has stood out to me over time. I do like that it is kind of it's basically an adaptation of Emma, and I think that's just a clever way to do it. I love the idea of adapting older stories and kind of modernizing them a bit and readapting them so that people can connect with those stories a little bit more in the modern age. I think that's a lot of fun, and I think it's a fun sub genre to be able to play in. But that being said, Clueless for me slides in at a D tier.
You said B?
D.
Okay.
D.
All right. And then what do we have? The chat.
Chat is currently sitting at a tie between S and A tier.
Nice.
So we got 5 votes. We've got now we got 6 votes, and it's tied up S, A, and B. So we've got roughly around 10, 11 people watching. So if you have not voted in that poll, please vote in that poll real quick. Please just click a letter that you feel is close enough. That way we can get a little bit of a lead on this and move on to the next one.
Way to tell the chat, hey, guess what, chat? You're holding up the show. Let's get a move on.
Hey, when you got someone clicked C through F, that does not help.
I thought Chris was going to say as F tier.
As F tier. True. I mean, we could also just do the average of the chat, and then whatever the average of that is goes into averaging with us.
Yeah,
that is one way of doing it too. So, I would say that's probably in the A tier.
So A.
Yeah.
Is that including averaging with us, or is that what the chat says?
That's just the chat. So
okay.
A will be the chat. Will be the chat vote here.
So I said A, S, A, and D.
And D for me. Sad.
Sad. Yeah.
Sad.
So right now I'm gonna put it at the end of A. I feel like that's where that would average out.
Sad.
Sounds about right to me.
Yeah.
Here's the like Jake, like I agree the movie is amazing. The TV show wasn't bad either. It played for one season like a part of TGIF, and I enjoyed it. The commercial, the recent commercial was actually really good. I thought they did a great job on that commercial.
Was it only a 1-season show?
No, it was on ABC, a part of TGIF for one season, and then it moved over to, at the time, it moved over to a station called UPN, which is now basically CW. Like UPN became like the WB, which became CW.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it ran on UPN for 2 seasons.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think when I was younger, I didn't realize which came first, the movie or the show.
The movie.
So it all kind of just blended in together since they all kind of starred the same people anyway, more or less.
Oh, okay. I guess Nerd's got it. Yeah. I knew it was somewhere in there. UPN had something to do with WB, and then they formed the CW in some form. Yeah. Anyways, moving on to the next one. We've got My Best Friend's Wedding. Take it away, Chris.
Look.
Oh, here we go.
Look. There was a nice, touching moment by the end of the movie. But honestly, I don't understand this movie's purpose. I don't get the point. Because the main character we're following the entire time is a terrible person. She is an awful, awful person. And I'm sitting there wondering, I even put it on Twitter while I was watching it. I was like, is this movie at some point going to make me dislike Cameron Diaz, the soon-to-be wife of her best friend? Like, is this movie going to make me hate her to make me root for Julia Roberts here and be like, yeah, you know what? I do want Julia Roberts. And is it Dylan McDermott or Dermot Mulroney?
It was Dylan McDermott.
No. It's Dermot Mulroney.
Was it Dermot Mulroney?
Thank you, SNL. Anyway, it didn't do enough to make me like want to be like, yeah, let's go, Julia Roberts and Dermot. Let's do it. Let's do
Dermot.
this thing.
You're just gonna call him Dermot.
Dermot.
From here on out. From here on out, whenever either one of those two are in a movie, we're just going, and it stars Dermot.
Dermot. Gosh darn it. Yeah, this movie's an F tier. Like I can't stand this story. I can't stand the story of this. I just by the whole movie, I'm like, what was the point? Why are we rooting for such a terrible protagonist? Her motives are awful here. You missed out on your chance. Sorry, you missed out. That's life. Deal with it. Don't try to break up a wedding. What are you doing?
Yeah, this movie is just complete awkward like the entire time. You're saying it's F.
Yeah.
Aside from the fact that she's a bad person, I did think the movie was at least cute and fun and enjoyable to watch. I'm not necessarily from the viewpoint of that I should be rooting for Julia Roberts' character. But it was a fun movie. It had a lot of playful elements to it, so I enjoyed watching it. But yeah, the romance part of it just sucked. For me, I think I want to actually redo where I had this actually listed on here because I believe it should actually be lower. Let me double check a couple of things real quick. I'm going to put this in D because I think it was fun, but
I'm about to quit this show right now.
I said
you are
D.
putting this in D. Yes, you're putting this in D when Harry Met Sally in F.
Yes, because I was able to enjoy and watch this movie. It was at least an enjoyable watch for me. When Harry Met Sally, it took me like about 7 times to try to make it through that movie.
Oh, God save me. I'm in so much pain right now. I'm in so much pain. It hurts. It hurts.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Well, it's a good thing I changed it to D and didn't say exactly where I had it like listed on here to begin with.
Oh.
But yeah, so F and D, and where do we have the chat?
Chat is making my job very easy tonight by tying me between B and C through F. Kind of hard to do the runoff on that one because I don't know where everyone in the C through F range wants to be because YouTube doesn't give us more than 4 options in the poll.
Jeez, YouTube.
So if someone has not voted yet, please help break the tie.
I think there might be, I know that there are websites that you can just create a poll on, and then all you have to do is just drop the website link in the chat. That might be something that we look at adapting in the future. That way there's just one link.
We have technology in the future that will simplify and make things a little bit gentler.
Yeah. So, anyways. Speaking of the music, I know I saw Maxwell talking about that he likes the singing of it. I have noticed that a lot of these rom-coms, they do have like the entire story is usually based around a specific song. So for example, this movie is Say a Little Prayer for You, or for me, or Say a Prayer for Someone. I'm trying to remember if any of the other movies that we've already gone through really had like one key song. I mean, Clueless had a bunch of music. Clueless was like completely rooted in the 90s. So you got a lot of good like 90s music in there.
Yeah. We're running another poll, C through F. Jared in the chat gave us the I did not vote and I say F. So he gave one more vote towards the F. I'm just running that as a technicality.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So right now we got 4 votes. It looks like it's pushing towards F. It's 5 to F now. So I'm F. Chat seems to be saying F.
So it's going to go at the top of F. Cool. All right, moving on. I guess I'm starting off this one. So where did I see? I saw someone in the chat said this earlier as well. Jeremy Miller. I think Julia Roberts only has one good rom-com movie, but it's not this. Oh, wait. No, we're not at it yet. Sorry.
You're on the wrong one. Yeah.
I got it confused. Sorry.
You freaked me out for a second.
I will bring that back up in a bit. No, I meant to talk. I was reminded of the Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks trilogy.
There's
one really good Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks, and it's this one. You've Got Mail.
Influencing already.
Yeah. I love that this movie is basically a time capsule. The whole point of this movie is email exchanging. Hence the title. People who were alive and used email at this time, specifically on AOL, are very familiar with the welcome, you've got mail. And I love that every time I watch this movie, it's a nice, comfy throwback to yesteryears of that technology. So I love that about this. I also like the mystery element of it, the two of them not knowing who each other are, while we, the audience, do know. And that's kind of fun just to watch them, like how they interact both on the emails and then how they interact in real life. So I love it. And then also the added conflict of the both of them run competing bookstores.
Yeah.
So like all of that is so much fun. This will be my second S tier.
Yes. So obviously we know like this movie is a kind of a remake, almost a spiritual remake of Shop Around the Corner. They even use that phrase in this movie just to kind of allude to that idea.
It's the name of her bookshop, I believe.
Yeah. This movie for me is one of the quintessential pillars of rom-com. This is probably quite possibly my favorite rom-com on the entire list. It is, once again, like we talked about in the podcast, Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan are a king and queen of the rom-com genre, and they're one of the couples that I look to, that I point at when I say, find me some of the best chemistry that two actors can have with each other on film. And I believe you almost every time Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan are like top contention for that. I love the juxtaposition in this movie of him being the big mega store, her being the basically the mom and pop shop, and just how the real life scenario of that, how that could be just enough to keep two people apart, it still falls and breaks to the idea of love, that love can push through even like the hardest barrier like that. And I think that's, while maybe still a little bit fantastical in some way, I think is a fantastic through lines, a fantastic message to get across by the end of the movie. I also love the fun little, like you were mentioning, the fun little back and forth of they don't know who each other is. This is another one of those situations, almost kind of like Sleepless in Seattle, almost kind of like When Harry Met Sally, when there is that moment in the movie where they start falling in love with each other, but the couple really doesn't get together until the end of the movie. Spoiler, sorry. It's most rom-coms, we usually know how they play out. So
rom-coms that might be an F tier right now. Spoilers.
except for the rom-com in the F tier. So yeah, this is one of those that it's just my favorite. It's literally just my favorite rom-com on this list. It edges out the couple others that I have in S tier, meaning for me this is top of S tier.
Yeah, that was the thing I was pointing out before, is like rom-com movie posters always have the couples like separated, like the one here, When Harry Met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle, and they all are Meg Ryan too on top of it. I don't know what it is. Meg Ryan just is not allowed to be next to a guy on a movie poster for some weird reason. But yeah. Anyway, so we are both saying S,
and Chad is saying S.
Oh,
so
well, that's easy.
I feel like this firmly cements it at the very top of S tier.
Yeah.
I feel good about that. Because that's where I put it.
I love it when everybody agrees. It's so easy.
Good stuff.
Next one. So starting off with you.
Off with me, huh?
10 things I hate about you.
Now, why do you hate 10 things about me? That's kind of rude.
Well, I mean, you're the younger brother, so you were like treated more like the baby, while I was the one that mom and dad always tried everything on before they failed at it and would do better with you. So there's one thing.
That's why I'm well adjusted and he's not.
Sure.
Too deep, too dark. Okay. Here's the movie everyone's gonna hate me on. I imagine. We'll find out when the chat poll comes in. All the way. From the top of S tier to the bottom of F tier for me, I don't ever want to watch this movie again. I rewatched it because I know I've seen it before, but I rewatched it for this tier ranking, and God, it did not work for me. It did not work for me whatsoever. This is one, it's definitely a product of its time. I think definitely if for me, this is one of those situations. This is one of those movies where if I were of the age at the time this came out, I would probably have a different feeling about this movie. But as far as my viewing of this movie goes right now, generally speaking, I think absolutely everybody in this movie except for Julia Stiles is a terrible person. Not one single person in this movie that I can recall was any kind of a decent human being about anything that happened in this movie. You maybe could make an argument for Heath Ledger, but he still kind of took money to try to take her out. So he's not without flaw too. Just for the most part, I did not find a single character that was like really trying to like get behind or root for. There's cute moments. Obviously, the part where Heath Ledger is singing his song out on the football field in the bleachers. I think that part was fun. I think it's an iconic scene. It's great. But outside of that, I maybe like chuckled at a few things. But for the most part, this movie was not it for me. It just doesn't land. So it just doesn't. The writing just doesn't land with me. The characterizations doesn't land with me. I just wasn't about it. So for me, it's an F tier movie.
Yeah. So this movie came out in 99, which again, given my age at the time, this played straight into my age at the time. So while it's not one of my favorites, I do feel like it is a lot more of a fun movie. I love how well they adapted the whole Taming of the Shrew storyline as well.
Yeah.
I thought that was done very well. I thought the acting on it, some of the comedy in this movie is great. What's the line, like there's I forgot the kid's name, where's what's his face with the brie. Like that was so funny when they were having the little meeting, the little house party, and they were waiting for the dude to bring the brie. That was great. I thought it was fun. I liked it just because of Nigel. Thank you, Peggy. There's Nigel with the brie. I just love because the cast in this, most everyone in the cast were people I've never seen or have ever heard of before, with the exception of I think that what tied me really to it was Larissa Oleynik, because I was already familiar with her watching Alex Mack on Nickelodeon. So I liked this movie because of that, and this was probably my first experience seeing Heath Ledger. So yeah, I was also one of those like, wait, the guy that was singing in the bleachers is going to be Joker? That's weird. But
that is fun to see his range, though. I will say that it is fun to see his range going from like knowing that he was Joker and seeing him do that in this.
Yeah. It was a fun movie. It was a little bit unbelievable, of course, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. I do actually want to watch it again. I don't think I've seen it like in about a year, so it is probably about time to watch it again.
Disney Plus.
It is on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So I have this in B.
Fair. Chad is currently saying A tier.
Okay.
Also, Peggy brought up another thing I wanted to highlight. Yes, Susan May Pratt also did nothing but accept a free dress and agree to blind date. So she is also without flaw.
Yeah.
But she's like the one other character that is. And yeah, I have a dick on my face, don't I? That part did actually make me laugh. That part I thought was funny. Just the deadpan.
That must be
I have a dick on my face, don't I?
That must be Nigel with the brie. I just love that line.
But alas, a couple good things does not make a movie higher than F tier for me.
Yeah. All right, so I got B,
grammar.
you got F. Where's the chat at?
A tier for the chat.
A. So A, B, and F. So it's either at the bottom of that B or the top of C.
So we said A, B, and F.
Yeah. I would probably say the top of C.
Yeah, it could either be bottom of B or top of C. It could fluctuate probably either way.
So this is going to be one that we'll probably revisit once we see where all the other movies are landing at. So don't be too quick to boo yet, nerd. Nerd, I said don't be quick to boo. Oh, okay. Anyways, moving on. So it's going to go back to me. I'm going to go with Runaway Bride.
Ooh.
I think the idea is interesting, mainly because this is actually based off of a true story. That like this was a story back in the 70s, I believe, if I remember correctly. So there is some truth to how this was really set up. The problem with that I have with it is the writing. I feel like for the actual story wasn't quite as fast paced. It wasn't as invigorating as I believe a story of this topic should be. A runaway bride, the reason why she runs away is something that we don't really find out till like later on like towards the end of the movie. And I feel like that should have been something that is right off the bat to begin with. Like the second someone asks you like, hey, why do you run away? Oh, I run away because of this. And that should have been like the end all be all of that whole thing. There didn't need to be a whole movie for her to figure this out. She should already know this about her. That, and I personally think that this movie severely suffers from its PG rating. This movie should have been at a PG-13. I feel like there's not enough adult to this. This movie's way too like family friendly, and I know there's a lot of innuendo jokes in this. And this movie came out in '99, so innuendo jokes still fell within like the PG rating a lot of times with this. I believe if this movie came out right now, there probably would be more of a push for PG-13 just based off of those jokes alone. But it still feels a little too vanilla. Just they're not pushing the envelope. They're not doing anything worthwhile. So I have this as my third F.
Ooh, third F. Guys, make sure you're also voting in the poll. We got 4 votes in right now. Looks like we're leaning towards a C through F in the chat right now, but let's get a few more votes in there before we run second poll.
What's up with Julia Roberts and weddings? Julia Roberts messes up another wedding.
How dare she? This time it's her own, though.
Peggy. There's a character named Peggy, automatic 1 tier bump.
So, yeah. For me, this is one of those movies that I've seen multiple times. This is one of those that I know our mom really enjoyed. And and therefore, like having gotten used to it myself, I tend to enjoy it. It is one I haven't seen in a while. So while I do know and do remember that I did enjoy this movie, it's also one I just haven't watched in a little bit. For me, this is another situation where like Richard Gere, Julia Roberts, a good chemistry combo. I think the two of them together, obviously you've got Pretty Woman as well, which not on this list. I don't know how much we constitute that as a clear cut and dry rom-com. It might be one of those that kind of maybe slips its way into a round 2. But for this situation, like I'll say the two of them, good combo, good chemistry. The movie itself, I think, is a fun idea. I think I think you're right. I think you're right about the PG to PG-13 situation. I think this movie probably could have benefited a little bit more of a PG-13 rating. In which case, maybe when I was younger seeing this with parents, I probably wouldn't have watched it as much at that point because of that kind of humor. But I will say that I I do remember liking this. I do know that I enjoy this movie. It is worth me watching it again at some point. I'm going to run another poll here while I'm talking. But I will say that it's not high on my list. It's not in the F tier for me, but it is in the D tier because almost every other movie on this list I like a little bit more than Runaway Bride, even though I do still like Runaway Bride.
Yeah.
So.
To answer Peggy, how the fuck is Pretty Woman not a rom-com? I do feel I think we talked about that before when we were putting together this list, and I think Pretty Woman does lean more of romantic than comedy, and that's I said that at the beginning of this. Some of these movies may lean more towards comedy than romance, but that was just one I just felt like right off the top of my head. I feel like it was more romance than comedy. There's comedic bits. That whole thing with her going shopping, big mistake, huge. That's a great comedic moment. But
there's several of these movies that we didn't include on this list that'll say we'll definitely make it on a round 2. That one I'll say will probably slip Jerry Maguire. Can't say these names. Jerry Maguire into a round 2 as well.
Yeah. You were
Some
looking
movies
at
that
Jeremy Miller in the chat when you said that, weren't you?
Jeremy Miller Maguire. There you go. He's made it. He's Tom Cruise. Yeah. Okay. So Chad is going heavy F on this one.
And you said D?
I said D.
So probably going to go F.
Yeah.
But you have it at a D. I think. Let me see. Well, no, I had My Best Friend's Wedding a little higher. Yeah, I had My Best Friend's Wedding at a D. Yeah, so it's basically the same exact position as My Best Friend's Wedding. One person said D while everyone else was saying F.
Yeah.
So it's just going to go right next to My Best Friend's Wedding.
I personally would put it over My Best Friend's Wedding. That's me. But
we're splitting hairs at that point.
We can probably talk about that at the end.
Yeah. So next one,
let's keep that Julia Roberts train going.
Now to go back to there is one Julia Roberts rom-com better. This would be it. Notting Hill. I could tell you right from the get-go, this one's not going F tier. We're not going to have 3 Julia Roberts movies in the F tier. So she has redeemed herself with this movie, I would say. Were you wanting to start this one?
I can. So this movie is, of the Julia Roberts rom-coms that we've mentioned, this one is definitely much higher for me as well. I love this movie. It is one, again, I've mentioned this multiple times. I did it with just the last one we talked about, and I'll say it on this one as well, that Julia Roberts and Hugh Grant, also really good chemistry. Hugh Grant is another one of those kings of rom-com that I believe too. There was a period of time there where I didn't even know if he did any other movie besides a rom-com. And then, of course, I started seeing him in a couple other roles. You know, obviously later on he was in The Paddington. He was in some Guy Ritchie movies and whatnot. So he's made other appearances in other films besides just rom-coms. But he's one of those that I just believe just knows how to sell a good rom-com. His personality in this movie, where he's playing kind of the bumbling everyman, while she is like this high-profile superstar actress, I thought was such a good juxtaposition combo between the two of them.
Keep in mind, he runs a bookstore too.
He's also running a bookstore, so you know it's another one of these romance movies where there's a bookstore featured.
Yeah,
I love it because there's also a situation where Julia Roberts is more or less, you know, maybe some character flaws aside, more or less playing herself, give or take. And she's getting to explore the side of herself to explain to the audience, to the world, that, hey, just because I'm an A-list celebrity or I'm a famous celebrity doesn't mean I'm not still a human as well and capable of having real human emotions and whatnot. For me, this is kind of a peak a peak Julia Roberts rom-com movie. The humor in this is also great. I know you'll probably want to talk a little bit about it too, but I will say for me, just highlighting Rhys Ifans real quick, he's such a fantastic character. But for me, I love the juxtaposition, the storyline, everything about this. It's in the A tier for me. It's like it's at the bottom of my A tier, but it is an A tier for me.
Yeah, I have it in the same place, A tier. I love I love her character in this. She's basically playing herself, and I love how we see him not knowing how to live in her world, while she at the same time, and I think we said this in the podcast, that she is a celebrity. She's basically Julia Roberts with paparazzi following her and everything. And this is just her life. This is how she is used to her as a human being in existence. This is how she exists. And everyone else looks at her as like, ooh, celebrity, cool. Like, can I get a picture? Can I get your autograph? And she's like, this is just my job. Like, you work at a bookstore. Granted, you don't have you don't have anyone actually coming, like paparazzi trying to take pictures of you in a bookstore. Sure. But just like that's your job, this is my job. And the way that those worlds kind of mingle and interact or don't interact, I love that in this movie. I think it added like some really good tension and build up between these characters. I have this as an A as well.
Yeah, it was an A as well. So we got 2 A's. Chat is actually going C through F on this. So we are running a second poll. I don't know what's up with that. What's going on, chat? Why are y'all going C through F on this?
Did we watch completely different movies?
I feel like we watched a different movie.
While the chat continues to vote, again, we just had the Cinefanatics podcast talking about some rom-coms that dropped this past Tuesday. Almost everywhere that you get your audio podcasts at, if you want a good source like Spotify, Anchor, usually good places for that. There's also video version here on our channel, so you can just see us and like little things if we correct. Like I know there was some corrections I needed to make while I was editing that video, so if you're listening to the audio and are like, wait, he misspoke, look at the video. I probably have it corrected on screen. So,
there you go.
Also, we will have another marquee. We have our next marquee coming 2 weeks from tonight. I will announce what that marquee is going to be at the end of this. So stick around because that's going to be a fun one too.
It is. All right. Chat is leaning C tier.
C. So we got 2 A's and a C.
Yeah,
so that would put it like maybe top of B. Top of B sound about right?
Top of B, mid B, somewhere around there.
I'm going to put it at top of B.
Yos. Yeah, so I like Nerd actually gave a pretty good comment. I think even Peggy was saying it too. Both of them are kind of giving us give us reasons why we don't we're not a big fan of Anna Scott necessarily, because she doesn't really make up for the fact that she kind of led him along for a little bit in the movie.
Oh yeah, when she like spontaneously has a boyfriend also.
Yeah. And then like she doesn't like turn around and actually like make it up to him. And then of course like there's that whole scenario where she is like paparazzi'd outside of his apartment and everything, and just kind of how that whole situation goes into a disarray. It's like you're supposed to then, I guess that's supposed to make you feel bad for her, but I can see how it doesn't necessarily, because it's not a situation where she's getting justice in the interpersonal relationship between the two of them. She's just experiencing maybe a lighter form of karma in some way.
Yeah. So we're a little over an hour into this stream tonight, and we're halfway through. So making good time. So let us continue with How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Just tell him you don't want to date him, and he goes and
problem solved.
Succeeded on the first day. I don't know why we're waiting for 10.
Done. How How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Shoot him in the face on the first day.
Yeah, you
He's
don't have
gone.
anything to worry about anymore.
You've lost him. Okay. Are you starting or me?
I'll start. I think it was a fun idea, and kind of like the playfulness between them. I like, but I'm not a huge. I like the playfulness between them, but I don't. The execution of it is just. It felt a lot like, when you watched Meet the Parents, Ben Stiller's character in there. He, like, every 5 seconds or whatever, he's getting in his own way. He's messing things up, and he's causing Bobby De Niro to not like him more, just because he's seemingly coming off as like a bumbling idiot.
Yeah,
I kind of felt that in this. Like, there's things where they're wanting to be serious, but they're also having to play their individual parts. His with the bet and her with the magazine article. And in real life, I'm like, this is just stupid. Like, I don't like how this would work in real life. So while it seems like an overall fun idea, I don't think that thought process for creating that idea to put it into a story to film a movie was fully thought out. So I have this in D.
Okay. This is one of the situations where I think the events of the movie, the set pieces of the movie, I think play better as individual pieces than maybe the whole movie does.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I have a fonder memory of this movie, fonder memory of watching this a few times. I like the two of them. I thought the two of them were fun together. That's, while they may not have like the most perfect chemistry of any other couples this list of movies, I do think that they had good enough chemistry for what the movie required. And yeah, again, this movie might be just the sum of its parts, and those parts being just fun, just the fun little hijinks of how their situations are battling against each other. But yeah, like you were saying, if you're talking about like a realistic scenario, this is one of those movies where certain problems would be solved if the two people just communicate.
When she moves her stuff into his apartment, he should have immediately like, wait, hold on, we're moving a little too fast here. I'm not ready for you to do this yet.
Yeah,
that's it. Just talk.
You just talk it out. Now, granted, of course, talking it out may fly in the face of what both of them are trying to accomplish in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do think it's a fun enough movie as its own. I do think. So you were watching this, and I popped in real quick and I caught like towards the end of the movie. I think the movie. I didn't remember this before, but I think the movie just abruptly ends. It's just one of those where it's like, all right, cool. Guy got the girl in the movie. And it's like, wait, hold on. It's just over. It just ends. That's it. So for me, I like the individual pieces of what happens in the movie, the individual events, and kind of how it all plays together. It's a good role for Catherine Hahn as well. She pops up in the movie and there's some really fun stuff with her involved in the movie as well. But other than that, it's in the C tier for me. I enjoy it, just not as much as like a lot of other things on this list. It goes into the C tier for me.
C, and I got it D. Jeremy Miller is here in our chat with the most corrective statements. Ghosts of Girlfriend's Past was a lot more enjoyable.
I don't remember liking that one as much, but I think I might just need to rewatch it.
Yeah. What's her face? Emma Stone's character is so delightful in that movie. So
chat right now is leaning more D.
So C and D, and then they're leaning D, so is that the final for the chat? We're going D.
Yeah, we'll go with the final on that.
Everyone going D?
We're all going D.
So
once you go D, you're totally free.
So 1C, I mean, technically it probably should be above Sleepless in Seattle. Do Do you want to put it after Sleepless in Seattle?
No, I mean, I do think I do have it above Sleepless in Seattle for myself, which is weird because I think I talked more hype about Sleepless in Seattle during this than I did How to Lose a Guy. But I enjoy both movies, so there you go.
Okay. And so moving on. So I believe you're going to start this one with Something's Gotta Give.
Something has got to give. One of those things that's got to give is these poll choices real quick. S, A, B, and C through D. Nope, C through F. Boom, polls up. All right. Something's got to give. This movie was about 2 hours or so, a little over 2 hours. Felt like it was 4. It's fine. Like the performances, the characters, I think everything is generally fine about the movie as a whole. I just, for some reason, I think it took its time in a place within the plot that I feel like it took too long. And now that you've also rewatched it too, I think maybe you might know what I'm saying by this, but there was a certain period going towards the second half of the movie where it's like they drew out too long what was going on with Jack Nicholson's character and what was happening. I do think combo wise, I like Nicholson and Keaton in this movie. I think they're both a great combo for this. But I just think there was too much of a lull in what direction they were wanting to go with. What was Jack Nicholson's character up to now, and where was Diane Keaton going now, and what were their what was their life like after they kind of split apart and went their separate ways. And I think that part could have been shortened. And that's literally the one thing that's kind of like pushing me away from this movie, is that one part probably could have been shortened, and I would rank this a little bit higher because, again, I like their chemistry. I like their characters. I like Batman is the better Nicholson and Keaton.
Well said. Yeah, but he would put that in F tier though, so we can't do that.
Well said. Keanu Reeves in this movie, he playing the doctor. I thought he. This is actually probably, for me, this might be actually one of his like more solid performances. Like Keanu Reeves, while we all love him, he can be a little dry in places in his performances sometimes.
Whoa.
Yeah, he can be a little bit dry. And here, I think that I felt like this role, he actually had a lot of life to him in this movie. And so therefore I actually do like his performance here. This would be interesting to do like a whole like tier ranking of just like Keanu Reeves' performances. And I feel like this would be a lot. This one would be pretty high for me. As far as the movie as a whole goes though, it was fine. It's not my favorite. I don't know that I'll ever revisit it. I'll never like choose to revisit necessarily. It had its funny moments, but for the most part, it's the very top of the F tier for me. I think storyline wise, it had something going for it. I just wasn't the biggest fan of it.
Okay, so I agree that there is a lull like in the middle or after the halfway point of this movie. There is a lull, kind of like what you're describing. I completely agree with that. But I love how cute Nicholson and Diane Keaton are in this movie. I think it was Maxwell was saying it up here. Old people deserve love too. And what's funny is watching those two interact. Like at the beginning of the movie, they're butting heads. They really don't like each other. But as they get to know each other and interact more, they seemingly turn into teenagers. Like they're having fun. The whole thing where he asked her, like, you know what? I think I want to try sleeping with you. I want to give that a shot. Like actually sleeping next to her, not sex, but like he has a whole thing that he enjoys sleeping by himself in his own bed, which I completely connect with. I've never connected with a character in a movie so hard, but yeah, I think it was so cute and adorable. I loved it. I agree. I loved Keanu Reeves. I was kind of expecting Keanu Reeves to have like a heel turn by the end of the movie. Like it just he turns out to be an asshole, and he never does. He stays a good, wholesome character, and any woman in the world would be lucky to have a guy like him. Doctor, he looks like Keanu Reeves. He's single. He's passionate. He cares. Great person. Like, yeah, I completely agree with that. Jeremy's calling out your poll. Leonardo DiCaprio biopic. That's good.
I mean, think about it for a second.
Yeah.
Think about it for a second.
I thought this movie was great. I enjoyed it. Yes, it is a little slow towards like the middle or so, but otherwise I enjoyed it. I have it as a B. I also like the fact that like at the very beginning of the movie, we meet her sister, played by Frances McDormand, and then she completely disappears from the rest of the movie until like the later third.
Yeah,
she just up and disappears, and we never see her again.
I'm like, what a not proper use of Frances McDormand.
Yeah, I mean, granted, this was 2003, but she's already had like major hits, like Fargo came out already.
Yeah.
She's already a very accomplished actress, and she's just given very little of anything to do in this. I actually read that, like, I guess her character is a feminist professor at a college, but she's also supposed to be lesbian, and I don't recall the movie actually making mention of that. At the very most, when they were talking about Keanu Reeves, she just like looked at him and said that he's not my type. And I'm wondering if they actually do talk about it, or if that was something like, maybe I read something where someone's like, well, if Keanu Reeves is not your type, you must be a lesbian. Like that stupid misogynistic thing that we hear all across the internet all the time now.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing it explicitly said in the movie, so that actually catches me by surprise a little bit.
Yeah. But otherwise, like what you were saying about Keanu Reeves, like how he could typically be like dry, I actually would put that on Amanda Peet's character in this movie. She's given like little to nothing to do in this movie.
I feel like she's
arm candy.
Her character is a plot device.
Yeah,
that's about it. She can definitely do some good stuff, but she just wasn't given as much to do in this movie.
So they're still leaning C through F.
They're going C tier right now.
So I have it B. You had an F. So we're somewhere between C and D right now.
I can see that going maybe like, I feel like it feels like top of D.
Top of D. Yeah, nerd. I liked Amanda Peet in The Whole 9 Yards. Whole 9 Yards is a great movie. So much good, like on the spot comedy in that movie as well. All right, so we're gonna go top of D.
Top of D.
Top of D.
Top of that D.
I don't like that, but okay.
Why ever 4? Why ever 4 do you not like that?
Because I had the movie at the B tier.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. Yep.
Did you think I was making a comment about not liking top of D?
What? Gosh, I've only put one movie in the S tier so far. You've tried to, right? You tried to put Clueless in the S tier?
Clueless and You've Got Mail. And do I have another one, or did I say them all already? Oh, no, I do have one more.
I have 2 more.
I'm willing to bet one of your 2 is probably my 1 as well.
I don't know.
Because we both agree with that movie very wholeheartedly.
I don't know. I think I know what you're thinking, and I don't think we're thinking the same movie.
Interesting. Well, this will be cool.
Oh, all the secretiveness. Secrets
are
no fun. Secrets hurt someone.
Wow, really? We live in the same apartment, and yet we don't talk about these before. This is kind of like almost like a surprise for the two of us when we do these as well.
I do that on purpose.
Yeah. Next, we're going to move to, and I guess this starts with me, Hitch. Hitch is a fun movie, I would say. I understand there's a little bit of like a negative blowback of this movie. I kind of understand why, but looking at this movie just how it is within its own bubble, within its own world, I understand the concept of having a date doctor. There are places that you can go online now, like, hey, I need something to help boost my confidence when talking to women. There's places you could go to read articles. You can get help. I mean, that's almost kind of like the same thing that you see. I don't know if this is still a thing, but like Cosmopolitan magazine would have on its cover, would have some person on the cover, and then right next to it, how to lose a guy in 10 days or something like that. It would be like how to pick up, how to get your partner to do this, that, or the other. So, I mean, that concept exists out there. People may sometimes need help, just possibly not even in a love relationship, a romantic relationship. People may just need help in how to interact with others. Social awkwardness happens all the time. This movie's taking that just to the idea of he's a person who used to be that way himself. He figured it out for himself, and now he's teaching others. Yeah, I mean, it can kind of sort of come off where it sounds like he's basically teaching people how to get women to sleep with them, but it's not, he's not presenting it like that. That's just the way like the rest of the audience, Eva Mendes's character is hearing that from other people. So
they even go so far as to show you specifically that that's not what he's about because of what's his name from Burn Notice popping in.
Mm-hmm. And that's what he's wanting help with, and he's like, yeah, that's not what my services are for.
Yeah, that's not what I do. I'm trying to get you into a loving relationship that's about caring for the other person and love first and foremost, not about just trying to get them in the sack.
Yeah. But because of some of that, there are Vance is asshole.
Vance Winson. Yeah.
There's parts of this that I feel like can get a little too preachy. This is another one of those movies I feel like is a good example of a lot of this could have just been resolved had people just had a conversation to begin with.
Oh yeah.
Specifically, the interactions between Hitch and Eva Mendes's character. Like if there was just a little bit more of an explanation once he realized that she's trying to research this date doctor, like, hey, what would you like to know? I'll do an interview and clear all this up. And then you can put like basically a positive spin in your magazine. I can't remember if it was a magazine or newspaper or whatever at the time. But you can put a positive spin on this. That way people are aware of what my services actually are. And you know, it would just give him more business. So, yeah. I mean, all of that could have been resolved, but for the sake of the story, they didn't do that. So because of that, especially like the interactions, the stuff that he does at that, the speed dating with her, I mean, some of it is legit and makes sense as far as communication goes, but also some of it was just a little too heavy-handed and preachy at some points.
It's one of those situations where we as the audience, because we know the information that the characters don't know, it feels like it. I can see how for you it's feeling like it's a little too heavy-handed here, wherein that's the realization moment for characters in the movie.
Yeah. And yes, so Eva Mendes, Sarah Milas. Yeah. Peggy is coming in clutch with these characters' names tonight.
Peggy's the MVP.
I have it as a C. It is a fun movie. I enjoy it. I've watched it multiple times. All the stuff between him and Kevin James is great. Like, that's so much fun. The scene of him like talking to Allegra Cole outside the door, and you see Will Smith's hand come in and put the pin in the pocket, and then he does that little tap on the pocket. That is just so good. I love it.
Yeah. So for me, chat's going C through F, so I'm doing another poll here. For me, this one hurts a little bit. Hurts a little bit that you said C. Hurts a little bit that chat's going C through F. Hurts me a little bit. Because I love this movie. This is probably outside of You've Got Mail and one other movie on this list. This is probably the third movie down the line that I've seen the most. This is one of those movies that I constitute as a comfort movie for myself. Mostly because I love how this movie depicts New York City as well, which I know that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the rom-com side of things. I do think the rom-com side of things is actually, it's a very funny movie. I think it's a very entertaining movie, and I think the story of it all is also really fun, really entertaining. It hits that spot for me. But also, like, this is the movie that makes me want to live in New York, because I feel like this movie shows off New York in such a fun light. It's because of that this movie has a lot of that comfort for me. At the same time, I do think this is one of Will Smith's more fun roles for me. I know he's had quite a few over his career, and in terms of like specifically just movies, this one for me is one of my favorite roles of him. It's definitely one of my favorite roles of Eva Mendes. And who said it in the chat? Yeah, Jeremy Miller said one of the better Kevin James roles. Absolutely. I think Kevin James plays such a relatable, fun character in this movie. And you kind of get a little taste of like what we got from like Notting Hill with him and Amber Valletta. Mm-hmm. So I think you get a little bit of taste of that, but it feels, there's a part of it that has a little bit more of a charming, heartwarming side on that end of things. I just really enjoy the setup. I enjoy them using Kevin James as kind of like the everyman to show how the setup works, but also doesn't work, and utilizing the fact that beyond what Hitch does in the movie, sometimes it is just the individual person's charm and how the other person responds to that charm, and how that's how the couple builds. And I love the juxtaposition of what Alex Hitchens' role is, what his role is, and then how he comes to the realization of all this also by the end of the movie. So for me, this is S tier. This is an S tier movie for me. I personally love this movie. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, you put this over When Harry Met Sally" or something like that. Yes, I love both movies. I love this movie more. It's just, again, this is more of a comfort movie for me.
Peggy, we will very likely keep this in mind when we decide to tier rank some more rom-coms.
Mm-hmm. So good to know. Good to know.
Noted. Where's the chat at in this?
Chat is destroying my soul with C tier. Chat hates me tonight.
So I said C, they say C, you say S. So this is going to probably kick up to B.
Oh, it still hurts. It's still so low.
So I'm going to kick it up to B. I'm probably going to drop Roxanne down to C.
Roxanne. Sorry, it's stuck in my head too.
See, you have to do it. You don't have a choice. They chose to name that movie Roxanne, and with that choice, that's what happens.
And the police chose to name that song Roxanne.
Mm-hmm. It's completely out of our control. We have no say so about it.
My hands are tied, guys. My hands are tied. I don't know what to say.
I mean, it's very much like you hear the beginning of the Friends theme song. You have to clap. We here in Texas, if someone starts singing "The Stars at Night Are Big and Bright," you have to clap. Well, even if you don't sing it, you still have to clap. So
somehow you refrained. I don't understand, but maybe it's because I was born in Texas and you weren't.
Well, I'm also busy like moving stuff around, so I can't clap right now.
You do it for the joke.
Oh yeah, no, I completely agree, but I'm trying to get all this done so we can move on with a show. The show is tier ranking, not about clapping. So
I think this is revenge for your ranking of 10 things I hate about you, Chris. You know, it's a personal vendetta.
there we go. Now I clapped.
Wow. Sorry, guys. We're seems to be on a delay. There seems to be a little bit of a lag tonight.
Anyways, moving on. So this was going to start with you. Definitely,
Woo.
maybe.
And definitely maybe is the movie that I wanted on this list that you never saw.
Real quick, let's try to keep spoilers secret on this one, because this is effectively a rom-com that's also a whodunit. So you don't want to know who did what.
Yeah, it's also not one of the more widely talked about rom-coms that's on this list. It is known, but it's not as widely known as a lot of these others. So you're mostly forgiven if you haven't seen this movie, because it just isn't as known. So we're not going to spoil the details because it's a whodunit movie. I always say this, it's a who done Ryan Reynolds to produce this kid. You're trying to figure out who the mom is. This particular movie I actually really enjoyed. This is one of those that for me was easily like one of the ones I had to put on this list. I will spoil real quick and say it's not S tier for me. While I really enjoy this movie and I've seen it several times, it's not S tier for me. But I will say that I do love the storyline. I love the idea, the concept of the movie where he's the dad telling his kid about the story of these three women, and he's trying to get her to kind of guess which one of them, without saying names or without specifics, which one of those women in the story is the one that ends up being her mom. Because obviously she knows who her mom is. He knows who her mom is. They both know who her mom is, but she doesn't know within the confines of the story he's telling which one her mom is. This movie does a lot of fun things. Man, there's something I wanted to say, but I can't say it because even that would be too much. We talked about this. I can't even give you a hint. I'll have to tell you afterwards because I feel like it would be giving too much away to say it here for the chat as well. Fantastic performance by everybody. Abigail Breslin, I loved her in this movie. A really good down-to-earth role for Ryan Reynolds, I think, but also you still get some of his Ryan Reynolds-iness in there as well.
Deadpool,
Rachel Weisz, Isla Fisher, Elizabeth Banks, all fantastic. There's just everyone's just playing their part just perfectly well in this movie, and I think the plot of just the whodunit all, the mystery to it all, I think just adds to the fun of it and kind of separates this from a lot of your other normal rom-com type shtick.
Yeah, this is basically a 2-hour version of How I Met Your Mother.
Yes.
Yeah, I know that's kind of what you were wanting to allude to. I know, the thing that you and I talked about.
Just leave it at that.
Yeah,
just leave it at that.
But I mean, it's essentially him telling the story of how he met the mother and how she became the mother.
Yeah, pretty much. Except nobody dies of cancer in this movie.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
I liked this movie. I thought it was fun. The only issue I had with it is while he's retelling the story multiple times throughout this movie, the story's focus is ping-ponging between all three of these women. And it ping-pongs so much, it leaves my head spinning, and it leaves me basically feeling like my brother's head after a car accident. Where'd you go? Anyways, yeah, it feels like that. So, did he just up and disappear? Am I gonna get tackled? I'm all alone. Anyway, so it's a fun movie. For me, I do have it as a D. But Chris, what did you have it as? I know he's still here because I can see him. anyways, where is the chat at with this? Chris had to step away real quick. Which was great because I just made the head spinning like Chris in a car accident joke, and he's up and disappeared, not there to react to the joke. So the chat is saying A. Yeah. So chat is leaning A. The Garth over
You are terrible at vamping. You are awful, just god awful at vamping.
Well, I was done talking.
No, you weren't. You didn't see the movie yet. God. I also have this at A.
Okay. So we've
no,
got...
I'm just kidding. I have this at C. That is not A. Wow, I had it at C. I'm weird. I like this movie, but I had it at C.
So yeah. I got it at D. You got it at C. Yeah. And they're saying A.
Yes.
Okay. So C.
Garth,
D,
everyone, Chris is live now on Twitch.
Yeah, that was funny. So that will probably go. I'm thinking.
Yes, if we want to like break it down, I've had a ton of liquid and I had to step away for a minute. Jeez. I try not to do that during the marquee. I really do, but I was dancing over here, so you know. Things happen. I'm a human.
So I'm gonna put it.
Get off me!
I'm gonna put it at the top of C.
Which really that hurts me too. And I know I put it in C tier, but I really do like this movie, and I hate that I'm putting it in C tier. So yeah, I agree. We definitely need to like maybe like recategorize and rename the tiers and get off of the lettering. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that'll make me feel better.
Potentially. Moving on. Next one. I'm gonna go with "I Love You, Man." This is not
man.
That's a weird looking graphic.
Anyways, you're a weird looking graphic.
This is not a normal traditional rom-com in it. That this movie isn't really about a guy trying to fall in love with a woman. He's trying to find a bro. And it's a whole matter of just the bros just becoming bros. And while it's not a traditional rom-com, it still plays very similar to rom-coms and how that works. You have two people that seemingly have like some shared interests. They get along pretty well. They hang out. Yeah. And then there's a small conflict that kind of breaks them apart for a bit. And then they come back together because they ultimately love each other type of thing. Yeah. It's a wonderful story of like friendship. A great, like, yeah, like what Nerd's saying, bromantic comedy.
It's a bromance. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it is definitely a bromance. It's a lot of fun. I actually have this down as a C tier. While I enjoy it, again, it's back to I enjoy it, but I like other movies more. So
how dare you? This is for me. This is the movie that I've probably watched. This is probably the movie I've watched the most on this list. Granted, yes, I said that You've Got Mail is my favorite. And oddly enough, though I have watched this the most, I'm not putting it in S tier. It is still one of my favorite movies. It is a fantastic bromance. It is just like it's just about as much as you could do to spin the idea of a rom-com on its head while still keeping like you were saying, while still keeping the bones of what a rom-com is. Plus, of course, you can't go wrong with Paul Rudd and Jason Segel here. I think as far as like friendship chemistry, they've got it. Yeah, and I'm talking about chemistry even with this movie too. They had it. There was a lot of like just fantastic setups and scenes between them. This is probably my most favorite movie to look at in terms of awkward comedy. You've got like Meet the Parents, wherein there's awkward scenarios in that, and it's cringe. That's the word. It's like cringy scenarios, and it makes me want to turn that movie off. Those situations make me want to like, no, I'm done. I don't want to watch this. There are cringy moments in this movie that just make me laugh my head off, wherein like it's something that Paul Rudd's character just it feels like an ad-libbed line here or there, like it's something that's not scripted, but it makes me like want to it just makes me laugh, like the later's on the Menjay or something like that. Like,
Totes my goats.
Totes my goats. Hey, City Slicker? Yeah, stuff like that. Who wouldn't want Andy Samberg or J.K. Simmons in your family? Yeah, J.K. Simmons as your dad, Andy Samberg is your gay brother.
Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic family.
I'll see you later, Pistol Pete. I'll see you later, Jobin.
Jobin? Would you call me Jobin? I like City Slicker better.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite. This is actually just generally speaking one of my favorite comedies. So if you're like doing like an out and out comedy list and this is on that, this would probably end up going in S tier for me. In terms of like rom-coms though, there's a couple others. Obviously, like I mentioned, Hitch. There's one other on this list that I have in the S tier, but this is like pretty much top of A tier for me. Very top of A tier for me. I just love this movie. I really do.
Yeah. So we got C and A.
And then Chad is saying is leaning S tier on this.
Well, who's your best friend? Well, my best friend is your brother, Robbie, and Hank Mardukas.
And Hank Mardukas. Oh, Hank Mardukas. Might be one of the best never seen characters in cinema history. Except for like you do see him actually like right at the last moment.
I do like these movies. Whoever writes these movies, there are times in some of these movies, the next movie is going to have one of these as well. And I'll mention it here also, is that there's like another character that typically is off screen for a while that just has such a weird name that like it just falls at like Hank Mardukas. The next movie that we're going to talk about, Crazy Stupid Love, they're always talking about David Lindhagen. Like, yeah. Who writes these names? Because these names, they're not something you just easily come up with off the top of your head. There's some thought taken into, like, we got to come up with a name that has so many syllables, so many consonants and vowels in it. It has to sound a certain way. It has to have a certain mouth feel while you're saying it. Like, it's really odd and weird.
And seems to also probably have some European heritage, too.
Possibly, yeah. Hank Mardukas, David Lindhagen, yeah. It's really funny how they come up with those names. But yeah. You've got it in A. I've got it in C. How's the chat thinking?
I think chat said S.
S. Okay.
Yep.
So S, A, and C. So this is gonna go A.
I think it's about where I put it.
It's probably gonna go. I would actually probably put this at the end of A. So bump Clueless up. So the two Paul Rudd movies are right next to each other.
Yeah, right. That makes sense. Makes sense.
Slapping the bass.
Slap it the bass. I still love the joke. Like, I got my face printed on urinal cakes. I've seen your face somewhere. Sure did. You pissed on my face, friend. I love that joke.
All right, so next,
Jeremy, look at Jason Segel. He's shrinking. Also a good show, not a rom-com, but a really good show. If you're not watching it, I definitely recommend Shrinking on Apple TV.
Yeah. So next one is Crazy Stupid Love. So start with you, Chris.
Yes. Just gonna go out and say it. One of my absolute favorite rom-coms ever. It's also one of those that plays with the idea of a rom-com a little bit more because, you know, again, we're talking about typical rom-coms where guy meets girl, and there's the back and forth, and then something, like you were saying, something splits them up, and then they get together at the end. This is a little bit different in that we're playing with the formation of romances. Our main guy, Cal, here going through a divorce from the very beginning of the movie. And how does that play into like his experiences throughout the rest of the movie? Ryan Gosling's character, one of my favorite Ryan Gosling roles. It's like this and Nice Guys easily are like two of my favorite roles from him. But as a whole, like there's just so much in this movie that I love. That final act is like batshit crazy, and it's probably the most hilarious part of the entire movie. And I don't specifically want to say what happens just in case somebody here hasn't seen the movie, but just how everything kind of starts to resolve and comes crashing in, and like how plot lines kind of interweave and everything, I think is just it was just genius. I love what they did. I also love that it spawned we got the Ryan Gosling the GIF where he's like actually legitimately laughing in real life as to what was happening in the movie. Like that was literally like a character break, and it turned into a GIF. The whole inclusion of Kevin Bacon's David Lindhagen, I think is great. Just there's just absolutely so much about this movie. It's also one of my favorite Steve Carell roles outside of The Office. So, I don't know what else I can say. This is an S tier movie for me.
Yeah. I agree. I like this movie has like we're seeing individual stories that the stories do collide and come together. There's a nice little twist to that. I think it worked very well. Yeah. The fact that there's a twist in a rom-com is very interesting. Usually a twist comes like action, adventure, horror, stuff
Drama.
Like that in Night Shyamalan movies. But yeah, like in this, it was a really good and legitimate twist. It actually made sense.
Yeah.
How everyone's lives all coincide within this movie is great. All the performances were fantastic. This is easily the best Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone movie ever made. There's no movies better than this one as far as the two of them.
Shut up.
Anyways, I like this movie too. I have it as an A. This movie's a lot of fun. I don't know, like I do like 40-Year-Old Virgin. I kind of like this one just a little more, just because it doesn't lean so much on the crass humor. Not that I'm against crass humor, but I just feel like this seems like more of a realistic movie than 40-Year-Old Virgin does.
Yeah. I'm not completely mad at that Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone crack, because you said it about a movie that's actually really good as well. So it's kind of hard to, if you said this was about whatever the Gangster Paradise Squad,
like American Gangster or whatever. Yeah.
American Gangster's Johnny Depp. Gangster's Paradise is a song. I think it was like Gangster Squad or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I never watched that movie, so I heard it was not great. So if you said it about that movie over La La Land, I would have left the stream.
Yeah. Anyways, whatever. How's the chat feeling about this movie?
Chat's feeling a crazy ass.
Gangster Squad. Okay.
With love.
Yeah. Gangster Squad. I'm in favor of putting this in S. This is a really good movie.
Oh yeah. Okay, so now that I've said all three of my S tier picks,
interesting.
We definitely don't coincide on one of them.
Yeah. Which I know you can guess which movie that is.
At this point, yes.
But anyways, almost done. We're down to the last three. So if anyone wants to submit their rankings of where they think these movies should go, get those in Streamlabs so we can read those off towards the end here. And then again, I'll give y'all a heads up as to what the next marquee is going to be here at the end after we make some adjustments to this potentially. Next movie, Warm Bodies. So I guess I'll start with this one. I really do wish there was more horror rom-com. Like I know Garth earlier was saying Shaun of the Dead. I don't think the romantic part of that is that. If anything, it might be more like I Love You Man, that there's more of a bromance between Sean and Ed in that movie. So I don't feel like it's necessarily a true rom-com either.
It doesn't stand out as much.
I may include it in a rom-com list later on, but it's probably not going to be like the next 2 rom-com tier rankings that we do. It'll probably be like really far down the line later. But this one, I do feel like it's really amazing how much romance there actually is in this movie. But yeah, it's basically she falls in love with a zombie's falling in love with her. She's still a human, and it works. It's a lot of fun. It's a very interesting take on zombies as well. Let's see. Oh, also really good out of all the movies that we have on here, and I think again we said this on the podcast as well, that a lot of these movies tend to have some comparison to Romeo and Juliet. This movie is Romeo and Juliet. His character's name is R. Her name is Julie. Like all the other characters' names, they sound very similar to the other supporting characters of Romeo and Juliet. I think his friend, his initials M. He ends up taking a name that sounds a lot like Mercutio. I can't say it. Mercutio. Yeah. There's definitely a thing between like the humans and the corpses, as they're referred to, zombies in this movie, where it very much feels like a battle between the Capulets and the Montagues. I like how they translate that in this movie. I think it was done very well. The other funny thing is as much as I like horror movies, I don't know, I can't remember if there has been any other zombie movie where the zombies have ended up reverting back to being a human. Because that is a plot point in this movie as well, that as he falls in love with her, he's regaining his humanity, and he's spreading that throughout the other zombies that are remembering love and relationship and friendship, and they are all slowly turning human again. So I couldn't recall if there was another zombie movie that did something similar to that, so I Googled it, and the funniest thing, I Googled zombies turning human, and surprisingly, I didn't get any other movies. The only movie I saw mentioned was Warm Bodies, but what I got a lot of are actual legitimate questions. Like, people have been Googling this before, and people are answering as if this was a real thing. Like the first question I saw was like, well, unfortunately, due to the lack of oxygen processed by the body heading towards the brain, a zombified human being is incapable of biologically turning back into a human being. I was like, zombies don't exist. Why is this an answer?
A human can't turn into a zombie biologically speaking to begin with. What are you talking about?
Y'all are answering like this, like giving scientific reasoning to a question that can't ever possibly be a real question. It was the funniest thing I've seen lately. So aside from that, the movie is great. It plays on like a lot of zombie tropes very well. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. I still had it as a C tier, and the reason I had it in a C tier is I saw this movie back when it first came out, long time ago, back in 2013, so 10 years ago, and I didn't remember anything from it. I remember he's a zombie, she's not a zombie, and they're at an airport. That's really all I remembered from this movie.
And somebody eats Dave Franco.
Yeah, and I rewatched it recently, and I was like, oh yeah, now I remember this movie. I remember like the beats and stuff. It was a great movie. Thing is, I'm probably going to forget about this movie again in another 10 years. That's why I personally would put it at C. It's great. It's a fun movie, but I don't know. I got a lot of other movies I got to watch too, so I'm probably not going to remember or keep this at the forefront.
So this movie was one of those, by the way, guys, we only got 3 votes on the poll, so make sure you are voting in the poll. If you haven't done so yet, get your votes in. this movie was one of those that was suggested by our guest that we were going to have on the show. As soon as they mentioned it to me, I was like, oh, how did I forget about this movie? Of course. And that plays into exactly what you said, which is, yeah, I forgot about this movie, even though I really, really like it.
One of the few zombie movies you've watched.
Yeah, it's this, World War Z, and Zombieland 1 and 2. And I guess technically Shaun of the Dead also. Those, that's it. I can count the number of zombie movies I've seen on 4 fingers. 5 fingers, if you count, I guess.
There you go.
Zombieland 1 and 2.
You count the thumb.
I count the Zombieland franchise. Anyway, so yeah, this is such a good movie. I just really enjoyed it. I think, obviously, yeah, this is a zombie movie that works for me because it's not graphic whatsoever. They don't. I think there's barely like blood in the movie. It just plays off of the idea of zombies more than actually like solely being focused on just being a zombie movie. I love the unique idea of doing a zombie story mixed in with Romeo and Juliet in a modern type of way. Because you can do something like Pride and Prejudice and Zombies or something like that with Romeo and Juliet, and there's a world where that makes sense, I guess. But for this one, it's taking those two ideas and doing it in that modern fashion, doing it in like a kind of a quote unquote post-apocalyptic type setting. And it just works. For some reason, it just works. It feels like it shouldn't. It feels like scripting, everything just feels like it shouldn't flow together and work as well as it does, but it does. And I love it. I love how they portray zombies, how Nicholas Hoult portrays his zombie. I like the whole inner monologue thing. I think that plays into like the Scrubs of it all for me as well. Hearing that inner monologue and whatnot, I think that is huge because like you get the zombie, which otherwise should be brain dead, but the brain is still actively working, is still actively thinking things and saying things, but the personality is just gone. I think that's such a unique, fun way of doing it.
He does that bit where he's like, I like walking around and looking at all the other zombies and trying to figure out what their job was in their life. Like, that guy was a janitor. That guy worked security. Judging by my red hoodie, I was probably unemployed. Like, it was so funny.
Yeah. So for me, I have this movie in the B tier. This is at the B tier level for me. We also got a new poll, guys. We got a see-through F poll. So if you guys want to pick real quick, throw your votes into that poll so we can get the audience, the chat vote as well. Yeah, this was a B tier for me. So I think C for you, B for me.
And surprisingly, a good amount of music in this also.
Also, a random role for John Malkovich.
Yeah, that was a weird role for him to pop up in.
I never thought that John Malkovich and Rob Corddry would be in the same movie, but there you go.
And I was gonna say, this is probably one of the few movies I really liked Rob Corddry in. A lot of the movies and stuff that he's in, it's like I can't really stand his character. Like Hot Tub Time Machine, his character is annoying.
Well,
yeah. I'm trying to think, what was that other one? There was another one, like, I just really could not stand his character. And, like, he usually plays roughly the same kind of character. I liked him in this, especially at the very end. He does something at the very end that's actually, like, pretty funny.
Yeah.
Hey, you're pretty. Now you're supposed to tell me I'm pretty. Like, that's such a funny line.
Chat's going C. Chat's leaning C on this one.
So we got B, C, and C.
BCC.
So going to the top of C. So I think everything's going to start pushing. Are we going to push down or do you want to push up?
Where you say it's going top of C?
Yeah.
It's
gonna go where definitely maybe is right now.
I think we push down for me.
I could agree with pushing down because that's gonna knock Sleepless in Seattle into F.
I don't like Sleepless in Seattle being an F, but I think I only put it in D. So there you go. I guess it is what it is.
Something's got to go down there.
I never once believed that 10 Things I Hate About You was actually going to end up in the F tier. That's why I stated like I didn't think people were going to like me for that. That's also why we do a chat vote on this as well, not just the two of us.
Yeah, I don't think you have too much to worry about. It's kind of hard to beat your Batman 89 take.
For the Batman poll?
for the Batman tier ranking.
For the Batman tier ranking?
Yeah.
There's a lot of Batman movies. That being said, I am looking forward to seeing Michael Keaton back as Batman in the upcoming Batman movie that slightly features the Flash.
Are you, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Batman movie that guest stars the Flash.
Yeah. I put an F. Yeah, I put 10 Things I Hate About You in F. Yeah.
Tori's gonna unfriend you.
No. If anything, she almost kind of agrees with me. I don't know if she would necessarily put it in F, but at least pretty close.
Okay, so the good news is any other things we add to the rankings now is just going to be pushing stuff up.
I agree with that.
Especially looking at what the next two are. Yeah.
Given the fact that I don't exactly have my S tier and I don't exactly have my A tier here as of right now, I wouldn't be mad if I'm just going to spoil if the next two take up those last two spots in some capacity.
Well, what a convenient way to say that because they do on mine. So this is working out perfectly. Next one is going to be The Big Sick. This came out in what, 2017?
Yeah. 2018.
I don't know if you actually wanted to start with this. I started with Warm Bodies.
Yeah, I can. So this one, what I really like about this is it is a rom-com, but this is one of those movies. This is the other movie I was saying that it is still hard to say it's a rom-com, even though it's definitely a rom-com. It's hard to say it's a rom-com because there's so much drama in this rom-com, and there's so much drama because one of the characters is pretty much in a coma for the bulk of the movie.
Yeah.
But what makes it interesting is that we're talking about a real life story. This is actually the true story of how Kumail Nanjiani actually met his wife. And I think it's fascinating that story was adapted into a movie. Emily Gordon. How he met his wife, Emily Gordon. In that, he's playing a stand-up comic in this. He was, doing stand-up comedy in real life as well. He's a comedic actor. He's a comedian, all that. And kind of like how he met her at a comedy club. And then basically he essentially got to know her family, everything, from spending time with her family while she was in the coma, being there for them, being there for her, even though they basically had, I believe they had just started dating or something like that, if I'm recalling it correctly. It wasn't too late into the relationship that this happened. So yeah, I love this story being adapted to a movie. Kumail Nanjiani is hilarious. I love him as an actor. He's one of those that I'm almost immediately sold on seeing a movie that he is the main featured actor of. So that's what I think that's kind of what made us want to go see
Eternal
Stuber.
Stuber.
when it was premiered at
South by.
But
him and Batista were like, "Yep, I want to watch that."
Yeah. As a whole, I think this movie is just so well made. It's got that heart in it. It's got great heart in it. The fact that it's based off of their true life story of how they met and everything. And yeah, Jeremy Miller said it. Ray Romano's so good in this. Yeah, Ray Romano being featured as her dad. It's just good. It's just good. It's just a really good movie. I actually do want to watch it again at some point. I know we were trying to put it on our Patreon poll to see if like people would want to watch that again, or would want to watch it. So I do want to give this another rewatch here as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So what I say, for me, I had put it in the it was at the very top of my B tier.
I love this movie. Like this movie is so good. Everything that they do, Kumail Nanjiani, he plays his role very well. Mainly because it's him. He's playing himself, essentially. But the way it's set up, even though it's like based off a true story, it still has a lot of fun with it without it falling into like a biopic type of scenario.
Right.
And I love that about them. Basically it's him with her parents the whole time. The mom is Holly Hunter. She does a phenomenal job just being like all kinds of stressed out, anxiety ridden and whatnot. Ray Romano is fantastic in this. I absolutely love him in this.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was a really good movie.
Would you say that everybody loves him in this?
I mean, I loved him, so I have to assume that everybody loves Raymond in this.
Oh God.
So
I quit.
So when this movie came out, I believe it was the top of both of our lists for movies that came out in 2017.
It was like 1 and 2 with this and Get Out.
Yeah, something like that. It was high up there just because it is such a great story. Also like nice like insight into like his culture from his family. All of his family members, they're all fun to watch, and especially his mom in this movie. So I love everything about this movie. I can't really pinpoint just like anything else like specific as to prove. I love this movie as a whole as it is. It's great. I have this. This is my third S.
This is the one that I think you were thinking of. What we were both thinking would be an S.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It was.
So I said top of B. You're saying S, and Chad is saying S. So bis.
So
subs.
So it's probably going to go in that open spot on A.
Makes sense.
Which means we're going to be doing some shuffling around because I don't expect the next movie to fill in that hole in S.
Man, you just can't expect some of these movies to fill holes sometimes. I don't know where I was going with that. I'm sorry.
I don't know either, but always be my maybe.
That is the most recent movie on this list.
Yeah. I thought it was fun. It's not extremely realistic, especially Keanu Reeves' character playing himself.
Yeah.
It had a great premise. I think the storyline of this movie is very, very similar to My Best Friend's Wedding. And I think Always Be My Maybe did it way better than My Best Friend's Wedding. I actually had this in A tier. So I want to put Big Sick in that gap in S, and I was going to put this in the gap in A, although I probably would move Clueless and I Love You Man above it. But
yeah, so this is Netflix original. It is I believe it's a reuniting of Randall Park and Ali Wong. I believe they both worked together on was it Fresh Off the Boat, the TV show?
Yes, they were both writers on Fresh Off the Boat.
Yeah. Which I believe, again, is another situation where we have somebody who's a comedic actor and is having a movie that's basically telling the story of themselves as in some capacity with Randall Park.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this movie, I fell in love with this movie when I first watched it. It's one of the movies on here that I was like, debating. I was like, does this actually end up in an S tier for me? Where does this actually end up? Because the how these two characters play off of each other, the fact that they've been like best friends their whole life and everything, and then like how the characters themselves grow or don't grow or go through their own like individual character arcs, and how those things, you know, kind of come back into focus. The whole use of Keanu Reeves in this movie is brilliant, because this is like right at the height of what we are referring to as the Keanu-sance, which is the everybody remembers that they absolutely loved Keanu Reeves, and he's constantly giving us more and more reasons why to love him. So put him in the movie and make him play himself, and it's just going to be a fun time. There's a way where that doesn't work. There's a way where, you know, you have that celebrity coming in kind of playing themselves in a comedic shtick where that doesn't work, and yet it does work here. And I think it's because we just love Keanu Reeves. But just the whole thing with him is kind of crazy. The way it's written, there's some like chaotic moments and stuff, and then there's just the combination of these two. I think their chemistry is fantastic. I actually really did enjoy the two of them together, and I think that's just because they're used to working with each other now. They knew each other, and so they've known each other for a while. So yeah, this one is definitely going to end up being like one of my favorites on this list. It's one that I definitely will rewatch here pretty soon. It's available on Netflix. It's a Netflix original, so anybody can just bring it up anytime. I didn't have it in S tier. I did have this one, I believe. Yeah, this one's in A tier for me. So what that means is I don't know where you put it as well.
I should have just done this. I should have thought ahead, just common sense. We were down to two movies.
Hold on.
Yeah. Let me explain. We were down to two movies. Big Sick was going to be higher than Always Be My Maybe, so I should have just stuck Big Sick in S anyways, because it's going to bump everything up no matter where we put it. It's going to end up pushing Big Sick into S no matter what.
Right. So the chat is saying B tier on it. So where does that
Always Be My Maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not going to go into. It won't probably go into this spot for A, but no matter where it goes, it's going to push Big Sick into S no matter what.
Okay.
So yeah, you were saying A, I said A, and chat saying B.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, chat. Hold on. We only got one vote in chat so far. Where are you guys at? Hold up. Let's get a couple more votes real quick before we actually finalize that B choice.
I mean, I'm going to go ahead and move some things because it's safe to say that it's even if it winds up in A, it's probably not going to beat Clueless or I Love You, Man.
Yep. So it looks like we were still sticking with the one vote from chat. So somebody out there in the chat land is deciding is the spokesman for all of you, it seems.
That's possible, just because again, with it being a direct to Netflix, it just
is the most recent too.
Yeah, it just may be a movie that people haven't seen, so that might be why we don't have any votes on it.
So yep, that's that one looks like it's dropping into that A tier there. All
right. Peggy, that vote was me. So we want to put it in A. So you're going to put it behind I Love You, Man.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right. So then do we want to move anything around? Me personally, I would want to put Notting Hill maybe above Always Be My Maybe.
I wouldn't put Notting Hill up any higher. I would actually, in fact, for the sake of how I feel about all of, let me look at my list again. Where did I have Notting Hill? Yeah, no, that still lies where about I had it, because I definitely had it like right underneath Always Be My Baby. So that kind of sticks where I had it. Hitch is the only one because like Hitch, obviously, I had in the S tier. I don't think
Mhm.
Hitch is going to move though because I think it's too much of an ask to put it over almost anything else here. For the sake of knowing what the chat voted for, what you vote for.
I mean, I'm all for moving Hitch above When Harry Met Sally.
I look Hitch.
But I enjoy people being subscribed to our channel.
I too like. I do enjoy Hitch as a movie more than When Harry Met Sally, but I think there's also an understanding of what the movie represents and like everything in the script and everything. I think When Harry Met Sally might overall, my specific opinion aside, I think When Harry Met Sally might be the better overall movie than Hitch, even though I personally enjoy Hitch more.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you know, I can see a world where we maybe I can see the argument for switching, even though this isn't necessarily where I had them. I can see the argument for switching How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days with Sleepless in Seattle.
I mean, I could be okay with that. I mean, I'll actually, yeah, that would be fine because I was almost on the verge of wanting to put How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days in F tier, anyways, on my own. So, I mean, if you want to do that, that's fine.
It sounds weird for me to argue that, but again, it's a situation where, like, yeah, I also still enjoyed How to Lose a Guy more than Sleepless, but I still think that Sleepless might just be the better movie out of the two of them, and so I feel, despite my own personal opinion, I feel better about Sleepless being over How to Lose a Guy there. I do almost feel like you got to put When Harry Met Sally over Notting Hill as well, but I understand that you're not as big a fan of that.
No, I love Notting Hill a lot more.
I did have Notting Hill on my list over When Harry Met Sally as well. So everything else, C and D, at this point I don't think there's a whole lot of shifting for C and D.
Yeah,
I did. My personal opinion is I would switch Runaway Bride with 10 Things I Hate About You, but I know that nobody else agrees with me on that, so I'm not going to get my way on that one.
No, I'm completely okay with where Runaway Bride is currently sitting. It does not need to move.
I do prefer. That's the only other thing is if we're getting hyper specific about it, I would put My Best Friend's Wedding at the very end over Runaway Bride because I just care so little about that movie at this point.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't know that I would really shift anything else around too much.
Okay.
My own personal opinion at this point.
Well, that is where they stand. Again, as usual, I will go through, clean this up, and I'll post it up on Twitter tomorrow, so everyone else can have at it. So
Peggy brings up an interesting fact here, where we didn't have a whole lot of various people who are known to be rom-com heavy. Reese Witherspoon, Sandra Bullock.
Let's get Carl to fix this real quick, and then we can look over that. So, Carl, turn off the marquee.
Carl, yeah. So, like I was saying, Peggy is mentioning all of those. So, the fun thing about the marquee is that we don't have all night to be here doing the show. We love doing this show, but we've pretty much made it a hard cap that we won't do more than probably 20 movies on a marquee, just because we would otherwise, I mean, we're already over 2 hours just with 18. We would be here all night
if we had no guests.
And this is without guests. If we had guests, we would be here probably even later. As much as I love those particular actresses, and there is a lot of really good rom-coms that those actresses are in, they're going to be saved for round 2.
Yeah, we're definitely going to do this again. So yeah, a lot of those people we did talk about and mention a lot of them on our podcast. So we did talk about like who are like the queens and kings of rom-com. We did talk about Sandra Bullock, and I don't think we mentioned Reese Witherspoon or Drew Barrymore, but I definitely could understand the argument for them as well. So,
yep,
yeah. Lego. I don't think I've seen a list of so many movies I've never seen.
I mean, look, there's so many classic rom-coms right off the bat that feature Meg Ryan and Julia Roberts, so you're almost kind of clearing through the majority of those right off the bat.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's going to end up happening is we're going to do a round 2 of rom-coms, and someone's going to be there like, why is there no Julia Roberts or Meg Ryan in here? Well, that was the first one. So yeah, we'll get to them. Definitely deserve to get to them. But yeah. As far as what we're getting to next time on the Marquee. So the next Marquee is going to be 2 weeks from today. I believe that is going to be on that's going to be Friday, March 3rd. So 2 weeks from tonight. That one, we will be tier ranking the entire franchise of Rocky and Creed. So because we got Creed 3 coming out, seems like a good time just to take out that entire franchise. So that's going to be 6 Rocky movies and 3 Creed movies.
Did you just say take out instead of knockout?
I did, because I'm terrible.
Wow.
My pun game is not strong. So
yikes.
So we're just going to knock those out right there. So
there you go. A technical knockout is what I would. Anyway, yeah. So we are working on acquiring a guest for that. Hopefully we get the guest that I would like to get on that. If we do, then it's going to be a fun one. If we don't, then
we'll find out either another guest or it'll be just the 2 of us with the poll, with the chat poll again. Either way, that's going to be a lot of fun because all of those movies are fantastic. Even the 5th Rocky movie is actually like, there's some enjoyable parts to it. So yeah, so, setting proper expectations. Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to do that. Also keeping in mind that as we get closer to March, we are getting closer to Oscar season. So we do need to be catching up on Oscar movies because we'll be doing the live watch along in March for that as well. So keep an eye out for that. Otherwise, yeah, follow us Wednesday nights. We're doing the tagline, talking about movie news. We have the podcast that's usually drops every other Tuesday, so check that out. We don't have one this Tuesday. We have one the following Tuesday. I can't remember what we decided the subject's going to be, but I believe it's going to be very interesting and a lot of fun to talk about. So keep an eye out. I do too. So keep an eye out for that. That should be a lot of fun. And anyways, yeah, make sure you follow us at Cinefanatics MLP, Twitter and Instagram. And make sure you like, if you're watching this on a replay, comment below. What were your thoughts? Where would you put these movies? Do you agree with our thoughts, our choices, where we ranked them? Let us know down below in the chat. Don't forget to subscribe to Cinefanatics because we are growing and we would like you to help us grow. So subscribe.
We're almost at 1,700 subscribers.
Yeah, we're really close to 1,700. We're trying to. I want to close in on 2,000, if not above 2,000 by the end of the year. I like to hit 3,000 by the end of the year, if at all possible.
Minimum 25, maximum 3,000. Actually,
yeah.
No, there's no maximum. I'm just kidding about that.
Yeah. Otherwise, you can follow me personally at Robert Adams MLP, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and YouTube.com/@RobertAdamsMLP.
And you can follow me at Chris Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd, as well as twitch.tv/Chris Adams MLP. I am going to be streaming 2 days in a row, tomorrow and Sunday, and then I will be off the stream for about a week. So come hang out the next 2 days on stream with me. It's going to be a good time.
Thank y'all, everyone who was in the chat tonight. Thank y'all for being here. I know there was a couple of people I haven't seen in the chat before. Thank y'all for joining us as well. Appreciate everyone being here, participating. Hopefully everyone had a good time. So yeah, otherwise we will see y'all later. Go check out, I think we got a review for Ant-Man Quantumania that we dropped yesterday. Go check that out. Trailer reactions we got. That trailer reaction to Tetris is a lot of fun. Go look at that. And the John Wick trailer that dropped as well. So make sure y'all watch all that. Otherwise, we will see y'all on the next videos that we do. Y'all all have a great evening. Good night.
I'm going to go get lost in Ted Lasso now.
Have fun.